I didn't really feel so
Yeah.
much like a player in the game. I felt like I was trying to pose as part of the game.
Yeah,
Most
you're
of the
being
time.
the imposter.
Yeah, I'm trying to be the imposter. Recently, for reasons that we still are trying to figure out, you, me, and Crave played a little game called Oh Dear.
Oh, I know why. I didn't need to figure it out. I thought it looked interesting and hilarious.
Good news, you were correct. That is exactly what it was. For those of you who do not know, Oh Dear is a fairly recent game that is sort of like an asymmetrical social deduction game, basically.
Yeah.
You have one player that is the hunter, and then you have all the other players that are playing deer that are running amongst AI-controlled deer in this landscape, and the hunter's job is to successfully shoot the player deer.
Yeah.
And
we call that sussing out.
yeah, you're sussing this out. Sort of like in the game that sus really comes from, which is obviously Among Us. But in this one, the idea is that you have one person that's the hunter, and then everybody else is the deer. And then if the deer are able to last long enough that the hunter's sanity meter goes to 0, the deer turn into Wendigos and get to chase the hunter back to the cabin,
And eat
or
them alive.
or smack
Just
them.
gonna go.
Yeah, you just go like that. Into this, there are, of course, a lot of interesting complications. There are the landmines and the bear traps that are on some of the maps, and I think we probably got hung up once or twice on the geography and fell into a pit.
A couple times.
Yeah.
It's still in early access.
Yeah.
I think the landmines were the biggest cause of detriment, with their explosion radius being a bit too big when AI deer step in them. And you just happen to be too close to that deer.
But it was really funny to watch them like ragdoll up into the air. That was that was terrific. So yeah, the landmines are definitely a bit of a problem. The thing, though, that I wanted to take away, and the thing I wanted to talk to you about today, is having played a little bit of like Among Us and stuff. This seems to be a common thing with like the social deduction, like multiplayer games, is that there's a certain level of absurdity with trying to like play an NPC, because it feels unnatural for me in a lot of ways, where I'm trying to mimic what the AI is doing or what the scripting for the other deer were doing, and trying to figure out like, okay, now I have to basically mimic my behavior by them in order to not look suspicious. But then there's this other thing that Oh Dear does that's actually very smart, which is that the deer have to continue to eat mushrooms in the world in order to not starve. And when you eat a mushroom, it's something that the AI deer do not do. And it causes a sound wave that the hunters can perceive.
Yeah, it'll give you a little, hey, this direction.
This direction for the thing. And so you don't want to starve. So there is a behavior that you have to perform that the AI deer can't perform. So you have to look the part, but then you also kind of have a desperation of your own.
Yeah. You need to sneak in that mushroom.
Right, exactly. So you're in a field of deer, and there's like a mushroom nearby, and only one of you is going to end up eating that mushroom. And this is really where the absurdity of it comes in, because I started to find myself like in a sea of these deer, and trying to figure out like, okay, how are they moving? How can I successfully get from like a mushroom to another mushroom without having to worry about looking outside of how the AI is scripted so that I appear that way, which is a very different kind of gaming experience. I don't know if you noticed that, but it is a very different kind of gaming experience. Like, I had to like wire my brain specifically in order to make this work. Yeah, so I don't know if you got that out of the experience or not.
I don't think I had quite the same thing. I was able to kind of just go, okay, the deer are doing this, then I have to similarly move, or at least kind of mimic it. Or a couple times I would just like walk into other deer.
Yeah, that also is fun. You walk into other deer.
Or put my head into a bush or into a tree or put my head into a rock.
Yeah.
Because, the AI deer would do that occasionally. So I'm like, well, if I'm just going to stand here in this rock for a few seconds, like 30 seconds, it looks natural.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then the deer would also walk back and forth. So I'd just be kind of walking one way and then turn around and walk the other way.
Yeah.
I would try not to get too close to a mushroom, but then stay close enough that I could get it before my sanity, or my starvation meter, my hunger meter goes down.
Sure.
Because the other thing that you didn't mention is when your hunger goes to the bottom, when you're hungry, you're starving, your deer is forced to stand up.
Yeah, we should probably actually say that there are things you can do that are completely unnatural.
Deer have been known to stand on their legs.
Right,
on their hind legs.
But the AI deer will never do that.
Yeah, the AI deer are always on all fours, and you as the not AI deer can choose to run on your hind legs at any point. You can sprint on them.
Oh yeah, and you can run away.
But then you're running across the map on hind legs.
Right, which is
none of the other deer can do that.
That's right.
And the other thing is you can fart.
Yes, you can propel yourself with farts across the landscape if you so choose. But boy, that is a dead giveaway that for what you are doing.
Yeah, because the hunter can hear those.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And can also see you flying through the air, so that's also important. The thing that I also found really interesting about that whole process is when you have to, figure out if the hunter is onto you or not, and whether you want to reveal if you're going to do something unnatural to try and just get away. That ends up being a whole thing in itself, should I stay or should I go? Which, I also kind of felt when I was playing a little bit of Among Us, and I saw how that works, where you're trying to figure out does this person know that I'm the imposter or not? And if they are, can I kill them, or is that really not going to work at this juncture?
Yeah. That's a little bit different in the social deduction because you're not one person versus four.
No.
In that one, you need to be the killer and also hide yourself.
Yes.
Deer was the reverse of that, where you need to pretend to be an NPC, and you can see the person that's going to be trying to kill you.
Yes. Yeah.
Right until you turn into a Wendigo. Then it's hunt the hunter.
Right.
Which, again, then becomes the remaining deer all in one.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's the reverse of Among Us because the imposter needs to be sneaky. They need to look like a normal crewmate doing tasks to help out and not give themselves away. In this one, it's the hunters trying to suss out which deer are not real deer or imposter deer and kill them.
Right. The hunter is always going to be the hunter, and you know what the hunter is. And in Among Us, the difference there is that, you're trying to... The hunters are the ones that are disguised, not really the prey. and oh dear, that's very, very different. Although, frankly, I found, even though it is definitely... It's got its jank at the moment, I did find Oh Dear to be a lot more fun as a concept, the way that it was laid out. The thing that was really interesting, though, is when you decide to actually break the mechanics, because we had a couple other people that were in there with us, because it was just a public server. We were just playing there. And so you can have up to 5 people in the game. You can have a hunter and 4 deer. And a couple people were joining us. And there were a couple that just decided to break the mechanics entirely by just running around the map, eating a bunch of stuff, and just confusing the hunter and running it into totally different direction. Which I started.
Yeah, it was definitely. It was definitely fun when you were the hunter and suddenly you hear crunch, 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 crunch.
Oh yeah.
All the deer just eating all the mushrooms right at the get-go, so you have no idea what direction you want to go in.
Oh, yeah. I found one of the best options was if I was running around the circumference of the map and just, eating every mushroom as I came to it and just keep running around. Because if you're the hunter and you see that, you're just hearing the mushrooms keep crunching in different directions, and so now you're trying to figure out where it's coming from. And if you can't see the line of sight, you're usually in good shape.
Yeah.
I found that was a pretty good strategy. We should have also mentioned the other thing, which is that if you do shoot the AI deer, your hunter loses a chunk of their sanity real fast, but if they get one of the players, they regain quite a bit of their sanity back.
Yeah.
So there's a big incentive for the hunter to choose correctly which of these
just killing all the deer is a quick way to
go Wendigo mode.
Fast.
Yeah, if you wanted to ever get killed off by Wendigos, this is a great way to do it. Very fast. It's an interesting process. I definitely can't say that I've had quite that experience playing a game before.
Yeah, same.
It's interesting. I didn't really feel so much like a player in the game. I felt like I was trying to pose as part of the game.
Yeah, you're being the imposter.
Yeah, I'm trying to be the imposter all the time so that I don't die. It feels almost like you as the player are really just playing a glitch in the system. You're supposed to be in the system, but you're also the problem of the system that is not working correctly. Yes, you are definitely the problem. And then, of course, an AI deer hits one of those landmines and shoots up into the sky, and you realize,
and then kills you too, like it did me.
Yeah, and then you realize, oh no, the glitch in the system is just the glitches in the system. What would you say when it comes to Oh Dear, some of the things that we were talking about wanting to change or expand upon?
I think the landmines was the biggest one. The bear traps weren't so bad, but then it was funny that one time I died on the landmine or on the bear trap and it just kept going off.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You kept hearing that noise.
Yeah, it kept doing that. That was something. That was...
Yeah, I think I would like not necessarily more maps to go with.
Sure.
But maybe options to turn off the bear traps and off the landmines, for instance.
Sure.
I think increasing player size could be more interesting, like double it to 8 players. Add a couple more deer if you wanted. 4 wasn't bad. 4 was fine. But I think more would make it really interesting too.
I was thinking about, like, you could actually expand it to 10, but like have 2 hunters and have 8 deer. And I think that would
do that too.
That would be really interesting because the hunters could decide if they're working together, if they want to, try to target a deer. And
I think if you did that, you'd have to turn it to a day-night cycle.
Yeah, maybe.
Because then the hunters, because you can't just have 2 sanity bars, and when one goes down, it turns to darkness. You'd have to do a day-night cycle, so you'd get like 5 minutes or something.
Oh,
maybe.
Sure.
And once that goes out, it turns dark, and every deer turns into a Wendigo.
Oh, actually, there is a way that you could do that. Is that if one player's sanity reaches 0, they lose all control and start screaming, and then the other hunter hears that on their... hears that on the thing as like a separate thing altogether, and until the other one loses their sanity, and then...
Yeah.
And so that there is a possibility of how you could work that.
Yeah.
But
I think... maybe some customization options could be fun, like Golf with Your Friends had, or like Among Us has.
Yeah.
Obviously, picking and choosing like your deer's fur coat, or horns, or antlers, or stuff like that might be a dead giveaway.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Customization.
But maybe customization of like the hunter.
The hunters you could do. The hunters you could do.
Maybe a map maker, so you could have players build their own maps.
Oh, sure.
Could be a cool thing.
Sure.
Honestly, I don't think there was a lot you would need to do to, like, even make the game, quote-unquote, better. I think the concept was great. I thought the execution was silly, a little bit buggy, but it's early access.
Yeah.
$10 game, too, so it's, like, not a big deal.
Not at all.
I'm sure they'll fix it, especially if people keep playing it.
They'll fix it in post.
Very Bethesda.
Yeah, I would have also liked, like, it cycles through, like, a set number of maps. And, I don't know if there was options in there to just choose the maps that you wanted to be on or something like that, but that would probably be good, because some of them are just not as great as some of the others.
I think a scorecard would be nice.
Okay. Scorecard?
Like,
sure.
Being able to tell how many times you've killed the hunter as
sure.
the deer, and how many times you've been killed, and how many times the hunter has killed deer versus AI deer, etc.
Yeah.
Just kind of like a score sheet, keeping tally.
If you're doing online matches, that would also be really useful for, like, matchmaking, because you could kind of tell, like, who's more experienced as players, who's not as experienced as players, so that you're
Maybe,
lining
yeah.
up.
I don't think you'd want to matchmake based on that, because it's still social deduction, so it's
Right, but
you don't want to be like, oh, I'm so good. And it's like, you're not necessarily good, you just have won way more games than me.
Right. I was just thinking that it might be more challenging for people that are either being the hunter or being the deer if they're matched with people that are better at that have had more times through figuring that out, like, to hone your deer mimicry skills, which is definitely something that we had a +0 in. I don't really when we went in. I think we got to +1 by the end, though, of deer mimicry. A very valuable skill. I think that
very valuable.
Yeah, that's the nature skill if we're talking about D&D, though.
Yeah.
Probably. We were all druids that day.
Yeah. Well, we were all Wendigos.
Exactly. Oh dear, a very interesting game that makes you essentially try to play as an NPC, except when you're the hunter, and then it's just chaos because you're just paranoid going around the map trying to figure out what you're gonna do. And will probably also blow yourself up in one of the landmines.
Yes. And I would like to say, I think we should play it again sometime, hopefully with more people.
Yeah.
I think as a game to play with the community in the Discord, definitely something fun to do.
Yeah, it's a good, like, a rainy day activity if you have 5 people around, and you want to laugh your ass off, because I did find a couple times where I was just bawling. Because it was just some of the stupidest things happened.
I was laughing one of the times. I just watched you running around chasing one of the deer on its hind legs.
Yeah.
And there was another deer that was just running around right behind you the whole time.
Yeah. That was
it's
great.
Like, if I follow him and he's not looking, then he's not going to notice when I stop following him.
Yeah. I think there was just, like, a time where I think that, like, I was just running in a general direction, and I saw, like, a deer get blown up by one of the landmines and fly across the sea right in front of me.
So you're just gonna stand here and do nothing, Nathan?
My God! Well, considering that I think the landmines are practically doing my job for me.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I saw you.
Ragdoll physics will never not be entertaining.
They're the best thing. They're the best thing. Always keep them in, folks. You don't want to stop that. It's definitely a unique gaming experience for just how it makes you think as a player, because you have to mimic what the other deer are doing in order to win and not be caught. It is very tense, though. I will say that is the one thing. It is very tense when you are, like, there with, like, one other deer, and you're trying to act like the other deer, and the hunter is right in front of you as your hunger meter's going down. And it's like, oh no, I really need to eat a mushroom, but I don't want to give myself away. Can I make this other deer look more personable than me?
Oh yeah.
That is an experience.
And there was another time I think I might have framed a deer, and then you shot that one, and I was like, bye, zoom.
And then you zoomed off. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I don't think I hit you. You zigged through some trees, and I
zigzagged.
Yeah.
Serpentined.
You serpentined. You gotta get your serpentine on. If you've played Oh Dear, let us know in the comments down below. If you've also tried some other social deduction games that might be a little bit different than that, let us know. Obviously, Among Us is probably the one that we know best.
I've never played it.
I mean, that we're most familiar with, or that people are most familiar with. As far as...
That's pretty sus.
You think that's sus? What do you think is a more famous, like, social...
No, Among Us is. It's just sus.
Oh, it's just sus, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the two of sus. What's
your favorite social deduction game? Let us know down in the comments below.
Fun story right at the end, though. I was playing... the only reason I was even playing Among Us was because the nieces were over. And, it's big in their generation, I guess. And at some point, I got really tired of playing this damn game, because I don't actually give a damn about it. And we were the imposter, and I was tired of, like, getting to the meeting, like, because I think that's my biggest problem with Among Us, is that, like, there's a meeting called, like, every 5 seconds, and so I'm just sitting there waiting to figure out, like, you know, who they're gonna vote for as the imposter. And eventually I just write, "It me," and everybody voted us out, and I fly out the window. No regrets.
You should have actually done it when you weren't the imposter.
Oh, I thought about it, because I did not care.
Because they would have been like, voted you out, and they've been like, what the fuck, he's not the imposter.
I did not care. I would screw with people so badly in Among Us anyway, so...
Yeah, well, that is the point of social deduction, screwing
This is true. This is true. That's my favorite part of it, by the way. But let us know if you've tried Oh Deer, where you get to be a farting deer, which is just a deer, by the way.
It's just a deer.
Yeah.